PlayStation may have hogged the spotlight with its current and future slate of exclusives, but Xbox has its own range of graphically impressive titles coming up. Many of them, like Fable and State of Decay 3, have yet to showcase any gameplay, but there's still plenty to enjoy now while looking forward to the future. Let's take a look at 15 Xbox Series X titles with the best graphics so far. CROSSFIRE X. Given CROSSFIRE's origins as a 2007 tactical FPS, seeing the graphical facelift that CROSSFIRE X has to offer is pretty nuts. The multiplayer is receiving some hefty upgrades to lighting, reflections, and texture quality, while the campaign developed by Remedy Entertainment is fairly stunning in its fidelity. Whether it releases this year or the next, CROSSFIRE X should offer something interesting for both new and established players. Halo Infinite. Yes, Halo Infinite had a very disappointing demo reveal last year, with almost no campaign gameplay being showcased since. But even if you aren't one to note the improvements in recent screenshots, what with high-resolution textures for environments and weapons, excellent lighting and shadow effects, and much more, many of these can be seen in the recent multiplayer beta. Ultimately, we'll have to wait and see how the campaign is optimized, but Halo Infinite could end up as one of the better-looking titles this year. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Surpassing the quality of artwork in Ori and the Blind Forest isn't easy. Nevertheless, Moon Studios set about doing just that, swapping out the 2D visuals for fully 3D models and multi-layered backgrounds, while extensively polishing it. On the Xbox Series X, it's one of the first titles to deliver a 60 FPS frame rate at 6K resolution, along with a 4K 120 FPS mode, elevating the breathtaking visuals to another level. Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 4 launched in September 2018, and even when it received a 4K 60 FPS patch last year on the Xbox Series X, it remains an incredible-looking game. Count on Playground Games to go even further beyond with more environmental variety, from the La Gran Caldera volcano to the tropical coast, each with their own individual weather conditions. It also boasts new phenomena like massive dust storms that players can drive through, on top of stellar vehicle textures, exceptional draw distance, support for 4K and 60 FPS modes, and ray tracing, albeit limited to Forza Vista. The GUNK. SteamWorld developer Image and Form Games, now Thunderful Games, is going fully 3D for the first time with the GUNK. You wouldn't know it based on the quality of the visuals. Though the aesthetic leans more towards the cartoonish, texture quality looks sharp, and the quality of lighting, shadows, and volumetrics brings the mysterious alien planet to life. With up to 4K resolution and 60 FPS support, the Xbox Series X version may just be the best way to experience the platformer. Bright Memory Infinite. Developed on Unreal Engine 4, Bright Memory Infinite immediately turned heads with its texture quality, environmental details, and abundance of weather effects in the midst of heavy action. Water rendering, debris, and destructibility also look pretty sharp, and while ray tracing hasn't been confirmed for the Xbox Series X version, it will feature a 4K 60 FPS performance. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Everything we've seen about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 thus far has looked almost unbelievable. Extremely high polygon counts for characters, realistic skin rendering, and near-flawless animations. The list goes on. That's not even including the volumetrics or effects of ray tracing with global illumination and reflections bringing out the desolate setting. As a showcase for Unreal Engine 5 and what the Xbox Series X is truly capable of, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 should stand out next year. Scorn. Ebb Software's first-person survival horror appears to live up to its H.R. Giger inspiration, that too in glorious 4K 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X. It's all fairly grotesque-looking, from the flesh-covered environments to the creatures emerging from them. In the midst of all this is some admittedly strong lighting and atmospherics, with the flesh itself having nice-looking textures, but the aesthetic may be an acquired taste. Gears 5. One of the best-looking titles on the Xbox One looks even better on the Xbox Series X. On top of a dynamic 4K resolution, 120 FPS is also supported with a max resolution of 1440p. This is in addition to improvements across the board, bringing the Series X version in line with the PC version in terms of shadow quality, volumetric lighting, and screen space reflection quality. It even benefits from new features like screen space global illumination and variable rate shading. The ASCENT. For such a downer setting, the ASCENT showcases a number of gorgeous sights and sounds. The arcology is littered with neon lights and graffiti. The odd rainfall highlights the strong weather effects and lighting, and the sheer amount of smoke and debris generated in gunfights gives them a more realistic vibe. Even without ray tracing on the Xbox Series X, being able to experience all of this in 4K 60 FPS is pretty great. Psychonauts 2. While Psychonauts 2 did release for other platforms, the best-looking version is exclusive to the Xbox Series X. The work put into the game's environments, art design and animations is already top-notch, but seeing it in 4K 60 FPS and 1440p 120 FPS with VRR is pretty nuts. It even boasts exclusive HDR support, which not even the PC version has, despite better anisotropic filtering, among other things. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Fatshark's Warhammer 40,000 Darktide has been looking pretty good in the limited gameplay footage that we've seen thus far. The dark sci-fi aesthetic with its dynamic lighting and shadows adds to the grimy environments that players will traverse. As you'd expect, it will support 4K 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X, along with HDR. Destiny 2. We can joke about removed content, FOMO, and so on and so forth, but there's no denying that Destiny 2 is still a very pretty game. Thanks to current-gen consoles, we get to see the gorgeous environments and skyboxes shine even more. That too at 4K 60 FPS, with very, very minimal drops in resolution, and 1440p 120 FPS support for the Crucible. There's even a field of view slider at last. Lost Judgment. Ryuga Gotoku Studio piles on new gameplay mechanics and improvements, but Lost Judgment is still ostensibly a Dragon Engine game, which isn't a bad thing. Character animations and textures are sharp, effects look much better, and both Kamaroko and Isazaki Ijinko continue to look great. On top of running at 1440p and 60 FPS on current-gen consoles, improved reflections, image quality and shadows can also be expected, further immersing one in Yagami's trials. Control Ultimate Edition. Remedy's Control was fairly hampered on previous-gen platforms in terms of performance. While the update for current-gen consoles helped alleviate much of this, there's nothing quite like experiencing it in upscaled 4K at 60 FPS. One could also opt for ray trace reflections, albeit upscaled 4K and 30 FPS. It really helps to highlight the quality of materials on display, along with bringing the creepiness of the oldest house to life. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.